Good day, everyone. This is Glenn Johnson, Dr. Glenn Johnson of the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn and Jacqueline Collins Williams. You are tuned into Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM, WBIS-LP. We have a part two of our topic that we discussed last week, health, food, and nutrition. And we want to recap on some of the things that we discussed last week. But more importantly, we're going to go into some of the areas of the new and improved nutrition facts label by the Food and Drug Administration, and some very quick tips from the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. Also, Eat Right, food, nutrition, and health tips from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics for our senior adults. Another one for our senior adults would be hypertension, understanding a silent killer. So that is very important. Hypertension is high blood pressure. It is a silent killer. But before we proceed, please allow me to introduce my co-host, Ms. Jacqueline Collins Williams.
Hey, Dr. Glenn. We are glad to be here. Hello, Winterville, Greenville, and surrounding areas. It's an awesome day today, and it's good to be alive.
It's a day that the Lord has made, sure indeed.
That's right, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. We're going to be glad and happy, and we're going to move forward today. I'm excited about this topic. I've been talking about it. I've been looking at it, and I think it's very, very important to people and to our community to do shows that are talking about things that help us improve in our life.
Absolutely.
And so we're talking about health and nutrition today again. As our subject, we're going to recap a few things, but we'll also bring in a few things too. I know on last show, Dr. Glenn wanted to talk about anaphylaxis and being allergic to certain foods. And so we want to make sure that we get that in here today too as well. So we're glad to be here. We're going to talk about, oh my goodness, and we have quite a few subjects here, quite a few things to go through. We're going to weed through some of it and hopefully we get you some good information today. We want to talk about our health, and one of the things last week we talked about, and I just want to reiterate again today, is that there's sometimes, we think that we have other problems in our body, and it's really a nutritional factor.
That's right.
And we're having a lack in our nutrition and what we're eating and how we're taking care of our body, and a lot of times we don't look at it or we don't think about it, and we don't understand the importance of looking after our body. We eat whatever we want, and we just don't think about the consequences until something actually happens.
And sometimes we wait until something happens, which is a bad practice. Never wait till something happens to go see a doctor or anybody.
Yeah.
Do not wait. You should go before it happens.
Right. So we're again reiterating doing your yearly checkup, or if you go every 4 times a year, to go that time and get checked out by a doctor. Don't wait until something happens and then you are now suddenly trying to see what's going on. Check on yourself. Get your blood work. See where your nutritional factors are. There are things that they can tell that you're lacking by your blood work. They can see what vitamins, certain things that you need. And you know, a lot of times people get it before surgery, but you can get those things done and ask to have your blood work and see where your levels are. See what's
That's
going
right.
on in your body. You see changes, make the changes and adjust what you need to do physically, and you know, to adjust your diet. And sometimes they're going to tell you to do some exercise. You know, so whatever it is that the doctor just suggests, or whatever it is that you need to adjust concerning that, you need to look at that and do that by getting your annual exams.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Definitely, Dr. Glenn.
And Ms. Collins Williams, as you may recall, our last week's broadcast, I said it was important to me because I found a very, very relevant factor in eating right and healthy, drinking a lot of water, eating a lot of green vegetables, and I feel tremendous. But I had mentioned when we were talking about the potassium, because I know potassium is found in bananas, and I hate bananas. So I very rarely or ever eat a banana. But I know potassium can be found in other food products. So I said, well, last week when we did the broadcast, I said, well, the next day, which would have been Thursday, I would have to go see my dietitian. And I said that she's probably listening and hear me talking about some of the things. And sure enough, she was listening. So when I got to the office Thursday, she said, oh, yeah, I heard you. And you were talking about the potassium. She said, well, I pulled your results from your last lab work. And believe it or not, surprising to me, all of my levels are absolutely fabulous. Potassium, blood sugar, everything. And I told her I was really concerned about the potassium because I hardly ever eat anything with potassium in it, particularly bananas. So I'm glad she gave me that excellent report, Jackie.
Definitely get your potassium levels checked, because that's one of the things that can affect blood pressure and also magnesium.
Yeah.
So it can cause you to have high blood pressure by not having these particular minerals and vitamins in your diet. So I definitely encourage you to check those. And so we are glad to hear that, Dr. Glenn.
Thank you.
Everything was good. Get yourself checked out. Find out where you are. Find out what you need. Not just bananas, but there are other things. You know, spinach, I think, is another one that is high on the list.
Yeah.
You know, if you eat spinach, that's another thing, another place you can get the potassium from. So there are other foods besides the bananas, but what's most common to us is the bananas. We say, you know, you can get your potassium from bananas, but there are other vegetables and things that have a higher potassium content than bananas.
And those must be the things that I am ingested because of the banana situation. As you said, my potassium level was absolutely excellent. So my potassium has to be coming from other sources. And I'm just curious to what it might be.
And also, just want to also remind you and let you know that lack of potassium is not the only cause of high blood pressure. It is one of the causes that could cause you to have high blood pressure. So I'm just encouraging you to check everything, you know, and make sure that you're looking at your nutritional, your nutritional intake, and how you're looking at after your levels in your body. Because it's more than just that, you know, high blood pressure can be caused by other things. But I just want you to know, underline that is one of the things that also can cause it.
Absolutely. We have 2 minutes before we go to the first break. And we're going to get into the anaphylaxis that we mentioned last week, because I know that's very important, food allergies. But before we go to the break, we're also going to explore the new and improved nutrition facts label key changes. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and I'm just going to point a couple of things. I'm not going to go through it all because we'll discuss this further after we talk about the anaphylaxis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 different areas that's all color coded. There's green for servings, like an orange or teal. What you say that's teal for calories. There's a yellow for fats, 4 for added sugars, and there's a whole separate document they have on added sugars as well. And there's an orange for nutrition and a purple for footnotes. They have some footnotes that they included on there. So we'll get into some of what all that stuff means. if we don't have time before we go to the first break. Jackie.
Awesome, Dr. Glenn. We are going to talk about anaphylaxis, and we know that anaphylaxis is like being allergic to things, and it can be also a very dangerous condition for those of you that are allergic to certain foods. It means it's a serious life-threatening allergic reaction.
That's right.
So it's not just, having a problem with something. It could be a life-threatening allergic reaction. And it's not just foods, but it can also be insect stings, medications, and latex.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are allergic to latex. They're allergic to gloves. And so you have to look at that and see if you are allergic to that. And also the tape that they use. A lot of times if you're in the hospital, you might see and find out at those times that you're allergic to certain things.
And now I'm going to expand on that a little bit further after we come from the break, because as far as the latex, it's not the actual rubber surface. It's actually the powder that's contained in the glove, or the powder that they use on the surface of the latex. So it's not the actual latex, but keep it locked right here to 106.9 FM. This is the Glenn Johnson Show. Back in a moment. All right, looks like that's gonna be a short one. Only 1 minute. It's only 1 minute, and then we got 10 seconds, and we'll be back. That's only 1 minute. Then we got 10 seconds, and we'll be back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn and Jacqueline Collins Williams. Winterville, Ayden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina. We are continuing our topic of discussion. This is part 2 of our beginning topic last week, food, nutrition, and things of that nature. And I would now like to get into anaphylaxis there as far as it relates to allergies in food and other substances. Jackie.
Yeah, so we already defined it as an allergic reaction to a food. Also, it can be insect stings. There's a lot of people that are allergic to bee stings. And sometimes you may not find out you're allergic until you actually get stung.
Yeah.
So insect bites, sometimes even just common things that we see, not just being stung by a bee, but ants. There's a lot of people that are allergic to ant bites, and they can become, or even spider bites. They can become very itchy, and especially children, they can start running fevers and things from being bitten by the ants. So when in an allergic reaction, if you're allergic to a substance, your immune system overreacts to that particular thing. Whereas everybody else may be okay with it, your immune system goes into overdrive when you ingest, touch, or even get near that thing. And especially when it comes to peanut allergies and those type of things. There's a lot of people that are allergic to peanuts and peanut allergies. Also eggs. Eggs is a common thing that people are allergic to. If you know that you are allergic to a certain thing, you need to take measures to protect yourself against being exposed to that particular agent or food. And so eggs and dairy. A lot of people, milk. Milk is another one. There's a lot of people that are allergic to milk and eggs, as we said. If you're going out to eat, you have to check that food. If you're going to other people's houses, you have to make sure that people know that you're allergic to that particular thing.
That's
and
right.
Also, you have to avoid it yourself, because sometimes people are allergic to a thing, but they still love it and they still want to eat it. And they will try and eat it. They're allergic to seafood. And so, because everybody's cracking those crab legs and eating that shrimp, then they still want to do it, because that's some of the good stuff.
Yeah, but again, and they just by all means they shouldn't indulge in things like that, knowing fully well it could cause harm to their body.
That's right. And even if I want to also let you know that you can develop allergies along the way. That you could be young in your young years and something not bother you, and as you get older, you can develop an allergy to it.
That's
and
right.
Now become allergic to the thing that you used to be able to indulge in and eat. Allergies is not a certain thing to say, well, I don't know, I'm not allergic to this. You can become allergic to a thing by consuming it too much.
That's right. And you were mentioning the allergic reaction to latex, and I was about to explain that when you have a latex allergy, it's not the actual material itself, the latex itself. It's that powdery substance or powder that's contained in the latex, which is why in medical facilities, office doctors' appointments, or offices of doctors, they have replaced those gloves with nitrile gloves. Nitrile. I think that's the correct word. Nitrile. So they contain no powder, and there's no latex involved in the nitrile. So because they found out that it was the powder and not the actual rubber itself, which was the latex, which was also in balloons in various, little corner stores or shopping centers where they were blowing up balloons. I was in a store one time and I felt it, because it has no smell to it, of course, and it's colorless. But when my eyes begin to itch so bad, it's like I want to scratch my eyeballs out of my head. I knew something was in the air. But so since I have a anaphylaxis allergy situation, I do have an EpiPen. And if I was to get in any kind of situation, had to use that pen, I don't have to puncture myself in the leg with that pen. And that pen contains epinephrine. Epinephrine is like a adrenaline. But someone told me recently, a relative of hers had to inject herself with her epinephrine, with her EpiPen. And she said because it was an adrenaline rush, the rush was so potent, it was like her chest would appear to be jumping out of her body. So now I have a second thought about using my EpiPen. And I didn't want to say that to frighten anybody, but just check with your medical professional at all costs. If you have an allergy situation or if you get diagnosed and they issue an EpiPen, you might want to research all the factors concerning the EpiPen. Jackie?
Definitely. And also, the first step, if you think you're having anaphylactic shock, which could also be a marked drop in your blood pressure.
Yeah.
And that's why that EpiPen is going to give you a rush. And then if you're not having it and now you've deployed that pen, you can be having, or you could cause yourself a different situation, because that is going to raise up your blood pressure and do everything and do things of that nature inside of your body.
And that's why they say after you inject yourself with an EpiPen, you have to immediately make a visit to the emergency room.
Definitely. Every time you administer it or wherever you are, 911 is to be deployed for that. And so also having your emergency plan in place, and also knowing what it is that you're allergic to. Some they wear bracelets.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Your medical alert bracelet or a card in your wallet that tells people that you're allergic to a certain thing and you could be having a reaction to it. So that's one of the things. And I just wanted to talk just what a few of the symptoms are for anaphylactic shock, just in case you don't know if you're having it or not.
Absolutely.
It said that it's shortness of breath, wheezing, or coughing. So, you start not being able to breathe because you've ingested or touched that thing. And I'm not talking about seasonal allergies where you're sneezing outside or you have hay fever. This is something that is on a different level. It's a level where your blood pressure is dropping and some things are happening in your body. When you have hay fevers and allergies, seasonal allergies, a lot of times you'll be sneezing a lot and watery eyes and those type of things, and maybe even pick up a cough.
Yeah.
And so you can tell the difference between the seasonal allergies and those that have that are having an anaphylactic shock episode.
And Jackie, I'm glad you mentioned that because some of my allergy onset appears that I think I might have a cold or a common cold, and it might be just an allergic reaction because that's the symptom mimic what a cold might be, but it's not a cold, it's an allergy.
Yes, and also to medication, I want to say that those hives, and also if you're having a lot of stomach pain when you're taking certain medications, stomach pain can also be a sign that you're allergic to that medication. A lot of times if we are taking a new medicine, we'll go ahead and take it and say, well, my stomach is hurting a little bit. And that thing just keeps on going, or we try to take other medicines to try to counter the stomach pain. When that stomach pain is actually telling you that you're maybe not able to take that medicine.
That's right.
And you need to switch your prescription.
That's right.
So don't try to work with it. If it's not working with you, go back to the doctor and tell them what's happening concerning that medicine.
That's right. Consult with your physician.
So one of the things it said is shortness of breath, wheezing or coughing, skin color or pale, has a bluish color. That's usually not going to be able to tell with us, but you might start looking a little sick or a little bit different than you normally do. A weak pulse, dizziness, fainting or dizziness. And, you can pass out from it. You can become unconscious from the anaphylaxis, having an issue with being allergic to something. Tight or hoarse voice, because one of the things that it can cause is your throat to swell and your tongue to swell when you're having an anaphylactic episode. And so, or allergic to something. Swelling of the lips or tongue that bother breathing. That tongue can block your airway, and the swelling in your mouth. Vomiting or diarrhea. All of a sudden, just suddenly you've gotten sick and you're throwing up. And that's one that people don't recognize as a part of being allergic to something. Also, hives and redness, bumps all over. And it said a feeling of doom, confusion, or altered consciousness or agitation.
And we'll pick back up with that after this next break. Stay tuned. Keep it locked right here to Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM, The Glenn Johnson Show. Motivation with Glenn. Back in a moment.
Hey, Facebook, we're on a quick break. Hey to all my friends.
Don't forget the mic be on. Wait, you're muted. But look, I might mention one thing about that. Then I'll give it back to you. It's gonna be real quick. It's got something to do with the anaphylaxis allergy. I'm gonna mention one thing about the anaphylaxis allergy. Then I'll give it back to you. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for keeping it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn. We're broadcasting live every Wednesday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. here on Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM, WBIS LP. I wanted to mention one other thing before we go further about the anaphylactic shock and how it is important. When I lived at the Jersey Shore, I was employed at Jersey Shore Medical Center, which is now Jersey Shore University Medical Center. When we were notified of this one particular gentleman, he was so allergic to nuts. His girlfriend had ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because of the nut factor in the peanut butter. She kissed him hours and hours and hours later, but that minute contact killed him instantly on the spot because he was so allergic to it. So that's an extreme measure. And you have to be mindful that you too could be that susceptible to a food allergy or any allergy. Like I'm very, very allergic to not only the nuts, but fragrances, colognes, perfume, oils, incense, any kind of fragrance. I am extremely allergic to. So I just want to throw that out there for everybody.
Wow, from a kiss hours later, he died from that?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, that is a very serious allergy.
exactly. That's why I wanted to mention that.
We-
I don't want to frighten anybody, but that is known to be true.
Well, usually if you have peanut allergies, you can't even be in the room with it. And so it really can be that dangerous.
Yeah,
And our school systems, most of them have taken peanuts out, or if they know that a child has peanut allergies, even at the daycares, they will make that place a peanut-free zone.
that's right.
So that no one reacts to it, and so that the children don't have any reactions to it. It also said here that a mild reaction can be itchy nose, sneezing, and an itchy mouth. That your mouth could be itchy, and that's a sign that you are having an allergic reaction. That mouth
Yeah.
started feeling peculiar, and your mouth is now itching.
It's itchy. Yeah. It'll be either itching or tingling.
Tingling, and you now
Yeah.
feel something going on in your mouth. You may not recognize that, but that could be a sign of anaphylaxis, or that you are allergic to something. That's a more mild symptom. And it talked about just having a few hives, because a lot of times we talk about hives, a lot of people think that you have to break out all over and you're gonna have all these big itchy bumps all over, and you could just have a few. You can have a few, and that still can be an allergic reaction. You don't have to have them all over your body. The reaction doesn't have to be severe. And those are the ones that we tend to not pay attention to, where you still need some kind of medicine or something to counter that, because that thing is happening in your body. And so a few bumps. Well, I'm just itching every time I eat that. I got bumps on my arm or on my back every time I eat that. I am mildly allergic to seafood. And that's what happens to me. When I eat that crab, I'll get up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I got those itchy hives on my back. It's not a bunch of them, but they are still there, and that is a sign that I'm allergic to it and should avoid it.
That's right.
And so
And so do you keep Benadryl with you?
Benadryl, that's exactly what I was going to mention. For the mild ones, Benadryl is a great counter to stop that reaction. So usually if I know I'm going to eat it, which I should not be eating it, I shouldn't even touch it, I should know better,
That's
but
right.
I like some seafood sometimes. I like shrimp sometimes. I like crab sometimes. I like lobster sometimes. And so sometimes on occasion I will pop the Benadryl before I eat it. And so that's one of the things that you need to keep on hand for that, and even for children.
Well, I'll just make a personal notification to everybody and the importance of it. I recall when I was younger, I was on a vessel, a boat in New York City. I was a young man at the time, but that smell of seaweed had been in the boat, and the elements of the seaweed been in the air. My body had all these blisters on it, all this fluid underneath the blister, and man, it was horrible. I had to get off that boat with all cause that as quickly as I could. Luckily, they turned around and I was able to get off of there. And I'm just thankful and glad to be alive. But it's a very serious matter. So when in doubt, just follow your mind and take precaution. Now, as an adult, I know the things that I can do and I can't do, and the things that I can't do or can't be around or ingest, I stay away from it by all means. I don't want to hear it, see it, or touch it.
Definitely, Dr. Glenn. We do learn better, and we do better. We're going to talk about the nutritional facts on the back of our labels, as Dr. Glenn mentioned earlier. We're going to shift over from anaphylaxis, and we just want you to be safe and look after yourself, and take the precautions that you need concerning your allergies. We want to look at the nutritional facts and nutritional label, and the changes that have been made, because as Dr. Glenn mentioned, and as I mentioned, I'm going to continue to plug this in and tell you
That's
that
right.
there's a lot of conditions that we're getting other medications for, and it's really a nutritional deficiency. And one of the things that we mentioned last week was that calcium, a lack of calcium, can cause depression or cause you to feel depression. And sleep difficulties. Some of the things that we are getting diagnosed with other things, mental fog, mental confusion sometimes, and mental things where it seems like we're not able to keep it together in our minds sometimes, and we're getting diagnosed with other things, could definitely be a nutritional factor. So check those things out and make sure that you're balanced in that area before you try to go and look at the other things.
And I think that is so true. That's so very relevant.
Yes, because a lack of something can cause, you to be feeling depression. I mean, isn't it something that you're depressed and you need calcium? And all you need is calcium. And also, even the things that we're telling you, they're just hints and they're just tips and things that you can use. Some of these things, if you have other conditions in your body, you have to be careful because you have to make sure that it's okay with the doctor for you to take that supplement.
That's
like
right.
Potassium for those that are on dialysis. It
Yeah.
could be an issue for you to add more potassium. Always check with your doctor
Is
to make
it?
sure that it's okay for the things that you're going to add to your diet. Don't self-diagnose. And so that's why I'm saying go to the doctor and see what your levels are.
That's right. Because as a dialysis patient, you have to consult with your physician as regards potassium. Because from my understanding is if you're on dialysis, you have to preclude potassium from anything if you're on dialysis. So by all means, check with your physician.
Definitely, especially, but especially look at your nutritional things first and see if that's the cause of your depression or why you're mentally confused or why something else is happening. It could definitely be a nutritional factor.
And I'll share this with everybody too, since I have both of these people on my as my medical professionals. And in addition to my primary physician, I see my dietitian and my endocrinologist. My endocrinologist monitors my glucose, my diabetes. So, in addition to your primary care physician, perhaps you might want to talk to him about seeing a dietitian or nutritionist and an endocrinologist for your diabetes, or just to see if you are diabetic.
Yes.
Both hypo and hyper.
Hypo and hyper. Get your levels checked. I'm Dr. Glenn. I'm not telling people to do anything that I'm not doing myself. I just made my appointment for my physical for this year, and I'm going to get my blood work to see where I am.
Hallelujah.
I am not going to tell you to do something that I don't do myself.
And
Go to the doctor, get checked out.
And I already do it. By all means, I already do it. Every, almost, what am I going now? Every 2-3 months, I'm at the doctor's office, primary, dietitian, and endocrinologist. So by all means, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Jack, we have 40 seconds.
Definitely. We're going to look at the nutritional facts and the changes that have been made on labels, because we need to look at that and see what we're eating and the nutritional content that it has for our body.
Yeah, after we look at these labels, before we leave the broadcast today, we're going to get into some eat right food, nutrition, and health tips for our senior citizens, our senior adults, as well as hypertension. So, ladies and gentlemen, keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn and Jacqueline Collins Williams. We have more to share with you, so keep it locked right here. We'll be back in a moment. 106.9 FM. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show. Motivations with Glenn and Jacqueline Collins Williams. We have reached our final 20 minutes of today's broadcast. So without further ado, I want to give it back over to Jackie as she explains the new and improved nutrition facts label key changes to U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Yes, and Dr. Glenn, right before I do that, I just want to say this, and this is something that I heard and learned on this last week. A lot of times that we are lacking in vitamin D. Make sure that you're getting your vitamin D3 and also your vitamin D. You know, they used to tell us that we could get vitamin D from the sun, but I want you to know, us as African American people, we don't absorb the sun like that. The darker you are, the harder it is for your body to absorb or get in that vitamin D from sunlight. It's different for other races, but there are some things that are specific for us that do not work. And we have to make sure that we're taking care of and looking after that for ourselves. And that I wanted to mention because I always mention something that's Christian, something that's about the Lord, because we are believers. And one of the things I wanted to, Dr. Glenn, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but since you mentioned that vitamin, that just triggered something in my mind. And I just saw this the other day. I won't mention the food chain or particular place where I saw it, but I saw a hand sanitizer. And since we all sanitize our hands because of COVID-19, this particular hand sanitizer had vitamin E in it. So I just wanted to mention that. So wherever you are, and now you're very concerned about your health and you use vitamin E, think about a hand sanitizer that has the vitamin E mixed into it with it. So I just wanted to mention that.
Definitely. And Dr. Glenn, I'm glad you mentioned COVID, because that was one of the COVID facts, was that more of the people that are lacking vitamin D are some of the ones that were affected the worst by COVID.
By COVID, really?
That's us. That's us. That's why we saw a lot of people that were going and leaving here from COVID. Lack of vitamin D. Make sure you get your vitamin D. Now, I'm not telling you that's the whole matter, but I'm just telling you that you do need to take it and make sure that you're not low in that.
Because
these are just some of the statistics that they have seen. And that is us. That's us. And so also, I wanted to mention that in the Bible, when they would sacrifice in the Old Testament, bring the sacrifice was food. It was also salt, it was also fats, and it was also sugar. And those are the things that were sacrificed to God, that they would bring as sacrifices into the house. And today, even all of those three things, if we overindulge in them, will cause problems in our bodies.
Yeah.
The things that are supposed to be sacrificed to God, we need to cut them down too and continue to cut it down. That's why you see a lot of people fasting in this season, in the beginning of the year, doing the 21-day Daniel fast. No meats, no sweets, no breads. That's a good fast to help get the body cleaned out. And so we're going to look at the nutritional label here. And as Dr. Glenn said, and I wish I could put this up there where you could see it, but if you would like to have a copy of it and you want to look at it, you can contact the show, and Dr. Glenn will make sure that you get this email.
Yeah, and there's some documents that we probably won't get to, so by all means, email me at glennjohnsonshow@gmail.com, and I'll make sure you get all the relative information and documents. That's Glenn with 2 N's, johnsonshow@gmail.com. I particularly want you to have this new and improved food nutrition facts label. This is a key changes, and it's very important, some of the things that they highlight.
Definitely. So one of the things, or some of the things I want to tell you about the new and improved nutritional fact label on our labels is that they have began to color code them. You know, they used to be just in all black and white, but there's a new color code here where they're that they have here that is showing what things are. And this is just our guide here from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And it just color codes here to show you where different things are on the particular label. Like here on our paper, because you don't have it, but definitely ask us for it and you can get it. It shows that the serving size, it has it highlighted in green here. And so there's new things that show where everything is, what the serving size is, how many calories, how much fat is in there, cholesterol, sodium, carbohydrates, added sugars, the proteins, the vitamins that you're getting from that particular item. So they're going to try to transition to the new label. And it says here that manufacturers still have time to begin using the new and improved nutrition label fact labels. So you will see both label versions for a while. However, the new label is already starting to appear on products nationwide. So the new labels, they're going to have it, sometime on the old label versus the new label, the calories was a little bitty thing. Now they've got it in bold.
Yeah.
And it's big so you can see what it is. And then they highlight the percentages on this particular new label.
And you know what I like about this particular one?
Mm-hmm.
You said that calories one. What is that, orange? No.
Yes, it's number 2. It's
number 2. It's like an orange, but that jumps out you so bold. I like that one. It shows that 230 quite big.
Definitely. And so, I want to say be conscious of what you're eating. Begin to read the labels on your favorite food. Some of the things that you're eating there could have a high salt content. Because salt tastes good. A lot of times the things that are crunchy, greasy, sweet, and that are bad for us are the things that we tend to want to gravitate at. We get addicted to those things. We get addicted to fried food. And so look at your oils and begin to change your oils too, and get some healthier oils. We have one document here that says top 10 ways to eat more vegetables. And we want to, in our last show, we talked about, looking at your plate size and to begin to put more vegetables on that plate and put the vegetables on there first. Get those vegetables on there and begin to eat more vegetables and try to get them in your diet. Try to get them in your lunch. Take some fruit and some vegetables in your lunch and be conscious as to whether you're eating these things or not. We got to be conscious of it and say, look, I brought all these groceries and didn't buy any fruits and vegetables. I mean, a lot of people, they will do that. Buying the pre-made foods, buying things that are already prepackaged and frozen and skipping over the fruits and vegetables. Go there. If you can't get them fresh, frozen was number 2 from last week. Get the frozen over can.
Over can, that's right.
Frozen over can.
Because the canned products have a lot of preservatives that they add to it to preserve what's inside the can. And a lot of people don't like eating out of a can because the content of the can itself is an aluminum can or just metal. Because there might be fragments inside the can that you can't see, but it's in there. You have to be very, very cautious. And like, once again, I'm not trying to scare anybody or put fear in anybody, but you have to be concerned and monitor these different things and look at these different things, because who's going to take care of you but you? You know what I mean? So this is why I'm going to mention that to you. By all means, look and monitor, pay close attention to everything that you might pick up to digest.
Definitely. And nutrition is one of the things, Dr. Glenn, and when you start talking about it, people start tuning out. They start saying, well, you're not going to tell me what to eat, or I'm going to eat whatever I want to. And a lot of times we take that mindset until something starts going wrong.
Yeah.
And then we'll continue on with these bad habits, these things that are bad habits, until we just drive ourselves down into a place where we have health issues.
And here at the Glenn Johnson Show, or Awesome Radio in particular, we're not telling you what to do. We're only giving you suggestions and ideas to follow so that you may live a healthy and productive life. So take these things, heed, and just take these things as a suggestion, as a gift from God. We have 45 seconds, then we'll be back with our final 10 minutes, Jackie.
Talk about omega-3s, and we talked about fats. There are good fats and then there are bad fats. The omega-3 fatty are very vital for mood, well-being, and other things that help us, our waistline. So we don't want to say all fat is bad.
Yeah. One of the other things that we didn't get to, we'll probably not get to, because we're going to conclude the broadcast the next 10 minutes, on our senior adults and hypertension and eating healthy. So keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show, 106.9 FM. Back in a moment.
I don't have the blood pressure one.
Take both of these.
Oh, I have this. I have these.
Welcome back, everyone. We have reached our final 10 minutes of today's broadcast. So now we'd like to transition into healthy eating and hypertension as far as it relates to our senior adults. And one of the other documents we probably won't get a chance to get to is on nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. What should you eat when you are sick? And the other document we're going to probably get to will be on the gluten, because I know people are allergic. Some people are allergic to gluten. They have a gluten-free diet. So once again, we probably won't get to those. But if you would email me at glennjohnsonshow@gmail.com, I will make sure I do my due diligence and forward it to you. So with that being said, I'm going to give it right back over to Ms. Jacqueline Cummins-Williams.
Yeah, so we want to talk about eating right for older adults. And one of the things that is said here, and we've already said this, was to make half of your plate fruits and vegetables. To put that on first. Make half of your plate fruits and vegetables. That's one of the things that can help older adults to eat better. And it said make at least half your grains whole. So your breads and things, make a whole grain like wheat bread and those things, whole wheat bread and those things are a big help. Also, it said to switch to fat-free or low-fat milk, yogurt, and cheese. Dr. Glenn, some of these things don't taste as good, but they are good for you, and it's good for you to cut down that and make that, if you don't eat cheese though, a lot of times we don't want it to be low fat. We want cheese.
And speaking of cheese, I know a lot of people don't like this one. Cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese is good for you.
Oh, let me tell you something. I love some cottage cheese with some fruit in it.
Oh, yes.
Some fresh fruit.
I do too. And I actually like tomato slices with salt and pepper in it.
Really?
Yes, that is delicious.
So are you one of those people that eat cucumbers, cut them up and put salt on it and eat them raw?
Eat them raw or some vinegar. If I'm going to eat a cucumber, I want it dipped in vinegar or in a salad.
And that's
the only two ways.
And that's still eating fresh fruit.
Yes.
Or fresh salad.
And cucumbers are that's a very healthy choice.
Yeah, I meant to say fresh vegetables. So that is awesome.
Yeah.
That is fresh.
It said vary your protein choices. Vary it. Get such as seafood, nuts, and beans. You don't have to have all red meat, a nice juicy steak all the time. You can vary that and get the protein that you need in your diet. Poultry, lean meat. You can get peas and even eggs have protein. So there are ways that you can cut out eating some of that meat and substitute with some other things. Do some meatless dinners and make some beans and some cornbread and do some substitutes instead of eating meat all the time.
And you just said a word that I had to confer with my dietitian about last Thursday. And that was when you mentioned lean. Because I had told her I bought some ham and it said lean. And so I said, when it said that, am I to be safe that it said that it contained less fat? She said, by all means, that's exactly what it means. It's less fat when it's lean.
Cut down the sodium and empty calories from solid fats and added sugar. So it talked about a major source of saturated fats such as desserts, pizzas, cheese, sausage, hot dogs, all that fast food. All that stuff has more saturated fats. And it says switch from solid fats to oils, which when preparing food. So cutting out the margarine and those type of things that are solid fats and start using oils instead, like the olive oil. And the store has so many new oils or things that I've never seen before. They even got avocado oil, I believe, now. and different type of oils. Is it sunflower seed or seed oil, sesame seed, all different kinds of oils that you can use now instead of getting that butter or that margarine and those things that are going to add a lot more fat in your diet.
That's right.
It's the side choices. It's the condiments too. Because people use butter as a condiment. You got it on there. I can't eat rice without butter. Can't eat grits without butter. And you got that there. You can also make better choices. They have light versions of everything.
And one other thing I want to mention to everybody to email me about is your sugar substitutes. I have a complete document on sugar substitutes, including garlic. Different things that garlic is good for, different things that garlic is bad for. But with your sugar substitutes, and I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to give anybody a down negativity towards it. But your sugar substitutes, one versus the other. I'll just leave it that way. But when you email me, you'll see the difference. They have a comparison chart of just different sugar substitutes as opposed to regular sugar. Jackie.
Definitely. If you can stand it, find the one that tastes good to you and use a sugar substitute, especially in your drinks. Cut it out. Use the diet. They have different sugar substitutes and cutting out those sodas because we get addicted, again, like I said, to the sweets, and we don't really look and see how much we're eating or how much of it that we're drinking. How many sodas are you consuming a day?
And since you mentioned soda, I do see a lot of sodas now that says 0 sugar. It don't say diet, or it don't say there's nothing in it on it that indicates that's regular. It just says 0 sugar.
Yes, and over time, these things are going to have an effect. You're going to get out of your body what you put in it. And if you don't ever put anything healthy and you're just eating all the sweets, you're eating all the fat. And I wanted to say about those margarines in the stores now, because I have bought them myself. There are some that contain olive oil, but they taste good and they taste just like the margarine.
Yeah, and before we leave today's broadcast, and I'm going to give it back over to Jackie in a minute, but I want to also mention in regards to the labels, when you go to the food, to the supermarket, buy an item, it says use by date. The use by date is not an expiration date. It's just saying that it's better and probably more fresher if you use it by that day. That does not indicate that that item has expired. The expiration date and the use by date are totally two separate things. So I want you to pay close attention to that too. The next time you go to your supermarket, the best buy date is the date they suggest that it be sold by. It's still fresh. It's not expired. The expiration date, on the other hand, is another matter. And sometimes it could go beyond the expiration date and still might not be expired. It might just be a couple of days, not a month or something, but it could probably be 2 or 3 days. The item is still good. So keep these things in mind and check with your grocer for a better understanding. Jackie.
Definitely. Also cut down the sodium. I didn't say salt, I said sodium. Check the sodium content in your salt.
Yeah.
A lot of times we become allergic to the sodium, not the salt. And so look and find salts that have a lower sodium content. Sodium is in salt. Sodium is an additive, and that is what we become allergic to and causes our blood pressure to rise and causes other things in our body.
Because we have to realize our food contents have its own natural sugar and its own natural sodium. So when you sit down at the dinner table and the first thing you grab is this salt and pepper shaker and all this other stuff, you are definitely doing your body some harm because the food has its natural elements contained therein.
Definitely. Sea salt is a better option for you. It has less sodium than the regular salt box. And that's a good thing. You can get the label and start seeing who has the less sodium in it. That should be your choice. And these things are not overly expensive. You can afford them in the grocery store. Get that, and it will you will be in a healthier way for your body. Your body will be in healthier condition. It said enjoy your food, but eat less. We talked about that last time. Cutting down the portions and looking at how much you're eating. Because a lot of times we don't. Dr. Glenn?
And ladies and gentlemen, please tune in next week as myself and Miss Jacqueline Collins Williams bring forth a topic on the late, great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And then probably the week after that, we'll have Mr. John DeMary and the Pitt County Sheriff Deputy Whaley, that's the Environmental Patrol Deputy, and another constituent of theirs on to talk about the new rules, regulations, laws concerning recycling and dumping and littering here in Pitt County. Jackie, you want to close us out?
Again, next week, catch us for Dr. Martin Luther King. We're glad that you tuned in, and tune in with us next week on the Dr. Glenn Show.